Hello everyone, my name is Amber. Welcome back to my channel, Amber Reads Romance. Today I am here with another recommendation video. I am excited to be bringing you guys some more recs for shifter romances. Now these aren't just like wolf shifters or just basic shifters. There's werewolf stuff mixed in here. I do read a lot of wolf shifter stuff and werewolves, so that's a lot of it, but I do have some other ones to recommend here for you. But let's go ahead and dive into some of my favorite shifter recs. Okay guys, so before I dive into some of these recommendations, I do want to bring up, I am trying to do some more book recommendation videos for you guys. I haven't been on it lately and I need to do more. So I am trying to get some of these out to you in the next few weeks. This one is specific to my team for the Romance Readathon that Maggie's Books and Stuff is putting on in September. My team is the Ballet Dancers. I'm hosting that with April, so make sure you check out her channel for recs too, because she's going to be putting out some recs for our tropes. In this readathon, you do get extra points for reading our team's tropes if you join our team, obviously. So the Ballet Dancers is wide shoes and shifter. So in this video, I'm diving into my shifter. The next one, hopefully next week, I believe, will be some wide shoes romances. Now, I have done a shifter romance rec in the past, so I will try to link that down below or put it up in the cards. But definitely check that out. A couple of these were on that list because they are some of my faves. I do want to bring them up again, just briefly. And, you know, I have a couple books that I want to show off that I got that are special. So I am going to bring those up, but I do have some other ones here. So anyways, that was enough of an intro. Let's get into these recs. If you are new here, make sure you hit that subscribe button, hit the notifications, and make sure you're liking and commenting on my videos. I'm trying to slowly build this channel and I appreciate all your support. So to start off, I'm going to bring up one of the books that kind of got me into shifter romance. So it's been a long time since I read this, but honestly, like, I think it's a good one to get into. It's a big series too, because this author has multiple series on different packs. But that book is Feral Sins by Suzanne Wright. I listened to this when it was like the read and listen for free. I don't know if it's still available, but that was something that I loved. With Kindle Unlimited, I didn't have my Audible Plus subscription at that time. So as long as you have the Kindle Unlimited, you can read and listen for free. So maybe check it out, see if it's still available. Sorry, I didn't check. But either way, it is available on Kindle Unlimited. But this is the first book in the Phoenix pack. And it's such a great introduction to Suzanne Wright's series that I started with. There's the Phoenix pack, and then there's also the Mercury pack that I read. So I think that's like $10 right there. Like most of my books, a lot of shifter books that I read was from these series. In this, we have Trey and Taryn, and Taryn is actually, they are wolf shifters, and she is actually a latent wolf, so she can't shift, but she has that wolf inside her, and so she's kind of looked down by some, even though she's does have an alpha personality, and her father is trying to force her into this mating with somebody she doesn't want to be involved with. She ends up kind of running into Trey, and Trey has started his own pack away from his family. There was a lot of drama and stuff that went on with the family, and now his uncle's trying to kind of come after his pack. And so he never really cared about building alliances and stuff like that, but now he really needs to. And so him and Taryn kind of come to an understanding of, hey, let's be fake mates, because they're shifters and it's like mates. So that you don't have to get forced into this marriage, and I can build this alliance with your family and your pack. And so they start this fake mate kind of situation. But of course, what's going to end up happening is they are fated mates. and I loved it. Like, I love this series so much. This one I think is one of the best in the series, and it's the first book, so I definitely recommend it. I think it's a fun series to get involved in. If you do read them back to back, they do seem kind of like the same. You know, she does kind of follow like the same format in each book, so maybe don't read them back to back and space them out a little bit. But I absolutely love this, and so I wanted to bring it up again, even though it was in my previous video, because it is what kind of started my shifter romances. Okay, so this one, the next two that I'm going to bring up, I have in that video, but I had to show off my beautiful books because I haven't had a chance yet. But I joined the author's Kickstarter, and I got these kind of like one-time special edition type of books that she did, and they are fucking beautiful. And so I still can't believe I need to make a video about showing these books. So anyways, this is Wolf Gone Wild by Juliette Cross. I just love these. These are hardback. They're really beautiful. They've got like artwork in them. It's just like, I love these. But so like, see, it's signed by Juliette Cross. But this is the first book in the Say a Spell series, and I absolutely love this series so much. It's one of my favorite supernatural types of series. It doesn't just have like werewolves, it's got witches, obviously, with Say a Spell, and vampires, and you have Grimms, and I just love it. So I highly recommend this series. Obviously, I paid a bunch of money to get these special edition books. But in this, you have Mateo and Evie, and Mateo is a werewolf, but he has been cursed where he hasn't been able to turn into, or, you know, go into his werewolf form. And so his werewolf, who he calls Alpha, is kind of driving him crazy. If you think of like a werewolf, but it's like almost like the Tom Hardy Venom movie, where it's this voice inside your head, like the way Venom was with him, that's like driving him crazy. That's Alpha. Alpha's very, you know, wants to mate, and he's, you know, wolf, his baser instincts, and he needs to get this, you know, werewolf out, but he can't transition into a werewolf. And so Evie is part of this clan of witches. They don't deal with werewolves. Werewolves kind of have this curse already, that they're looked down on by the supernatural community, and that's kind of dealt with in this whole series. But he goes to Evie because she's like the curse breaker. She can break curses, and he basically begs for her help, and she decides to do whatever she could to help him. And they end up like spending a lot of time together while she's trying to figure out how to break his curse, because Alpha is like besotted by Evie, and it's like he kind of she calms down his inner wolf a lot. So I absolutely love this. It's so sexy, it's fun, it's cute, it's funny, it's just adorable. So I highly recommend this if you haven't read it yet. And then the other one that I want to bring up from that series is Witches Get Stitches. I love this one so much. This one, I think it's the second book, or it might be the third. It might be the third book in the Say a Spell series, but this one is between Nico and Violet. Nico is actually, I believe, Mateo's cousin, and he had kind of a run-in with Violet, like out of town at one point. They had major sexual chemistry, but she kind of put him off because she reads tarot cards and kind of like have readings, and she was just freaked out by a reading she had, so she kind of pushed him away. But he ends up coming back to town, and he's after Violet. He's very much pining hero, wants Violet. He's playing the long game. They end up opening like a tattoo shop together, and it kind of caters to supernaturals. She's trying to do these tattoos that would help out, like they're charmed tattoos that would help out the werewolves with their curse. So that's what she's trying to work on. And they end up kind of have a working relationship, but they're really into each other. So there's some mutual pining in here. And then more werewolves are finding out about this, so they really want to get her help. So I absolutely love this. This one was like one of my favorites until I got to the Grimms, because I love the Grimm books so much. But highly recommend this. So good. Another beautiful cover that I got from Juliette Cross's Kickstarter. So I just really want to show these off. Okay, so another one that I want to recommend is Cold Hearted. And this is by Heather, I think it's Guerre. I don't know if I'm saying her name right. But this one was very interesting. It's kind of like set in Alaska. And it does have some darker elements, some pretty dark elements to it, but you definitely get Twilight vibes from it for sure. And this is between Grace and Caleb. And Grace kind of takes this job as a teacher out in the middle of nowhere in Alaska in this small town because she's kind of on the run from a stalker ex-boyfriend that was abusive, and she wanted to get as far away as possible. She is very much struggling with like depression, and she feels very like cold and like just cut off and numb. And she meets Caleb there. He was like the I think he was the, what was he? Oh, he was like the pilot that flew her in. And it's a very close, like off community. They're very like, you know, big, like it's a small town but very connected community, and he doesn't want her there. And he's pretty negative towards her in the beginning, and she has like no idea why. And so, you know, she has no idea, but this is a pack. There is a pack of wolves that they are werewolves and, you know, shifting and all of that. And it's very much secret, but they have like, I think they have like that shared pack mind, and it's a very interesting setup. I really liked it. But, you know, once somebody from her past, who we know who it's going to be, is looking for her, you know, things get dangerous and they need to help protect her. And I just really loved this whole like pack community, and it did give you the Twilight vibes, but in the other way, because her ex is a vampire and very dangerous and psycho. And so now these wolves are going to come together to protect her. And so I really liked it. I think it's hard to read being in a depressed person's mind, but I think it was handled really well in this book. So that's another option for you. Another one that I read, it's not my favorite, but a lot of people love this. A lot of people love this one, and that is Wild by D.D. Prince. And this is the first book in the Savage Alpha Shifters. In this, we have Tyson and Ivy, and Tyson is actually been in his werewolf form for years. So he's pretty wild. He hasn't, you know, he's never really in his human form. Ivy was like kind of at this party. It was getting kind of shady, and so she ends up leaving. She's in this, you know, backwoods area, so she doesn't know where she's going, and she hits something, and she thought it was like this wolf. Well, guess what? That wolf turns into a man. And he shifts and he turns back into the man because he scents her as his fated mate, as his mate. And so he basically takes her against her will to take her home with him to be his mate. There's a lot of dub cons, some, you know, questionable stuff going on in this. It's very spicy. To me, it was like it's spice from pretty early on in the book. But it does have some interesting stuff going on because he was lied about his family being dead, and we find this other family, you know, of other werewolves and all that kind of stuff. But there's some nodding because he definitely knots if it's your mate. So definitely a spicy one if you want to give it a try. I did enjoy it. It just didn't blow me away as much as other people, but it does have a lot of good ratings. Okay, so then I have one that was really great, and I need to get back into the series, and that is The Longing of Lone Wolves by, okay, I'm gonna say her last name wrong, I know I am, Lana Pacherczyk. I don't know, I'm sorry, I'm probably butchering it, but this is the Fae Guardians series, and this is the, like, she has different, I think, trilogies within it, and this is the Season of the Wolf. So this goes over like these Fae wolf shifters, and in this is a really cool, really good world building, very interesting kind of fantasy shifter, Fae shifters kind of series. In this we have Rush, and he is a Fae guardian, but he has been cursed because I think he broke the law because he had, I think, what do they call it? Unsanctioned mating. And so he had gotten a woman pregnant. He has a son that comes into play later in the series, or in the next book, I mean. But he basically was cursed because he broke that law, and so nobody can see him. And then we have Clark, and in this, she wakes up, and it's 2,000 years later. So she was like, it was kind of like a very post-apocalyptic, very bad time, because where she was at, humans were basically ruining the world. It was very bad. They basically ruined the world. And then she wakes up 2,000 years later, like in this lake. She like wakes up out of nowhere, and she gets attacked by these guys. And he comes across this, sees her getting attacked. He wasn't really going to help, because humans are like what he's supposed to hunt. Humans are like the bad guys. The Fae are like to stop them and bring them down. But then she actually sees him, and nobody's been able to see him for years. And so he basically steps in and takes this as an opportunity. He's going to take her to the order or whatever of his people to try and give her to them so that he can get his curse broken. But she also has abilities, and I think she has like premonition. So a lot of that comes into play. And then of course we're going to have fated mates. So I really, really loved this first one. The second one was good, but like this first one was like a 5-star for me. So I definitely recommend it if you love fae and like fantasy. Okay, so one I'm going to briefly mention, because this is everywhere. You already know what this book is. But this is ACOTAR, because we actually do have another fae shifter here. We have Tamlin, and he actually can shift into a wolf. He does, I think he can shift into other things, but he mostly shifts into a wolf. And I mean, if you don't know ACOTAR, I don't know. I mean, I'm just now finally reading the series, because I read the first couple books, and now I'm finally going to read the other ones. But I ended up annotating this one, so had a really good time finally annotating ACOTAR. So I did that, if you could see that, but got it tabbed up here, and I'm doing A Court of Mist and Fury and all of that. So anyways, with ACOTAR, of course, you have Feyre, and she has, you know, a family that is so poor. They're struggling. She's like the only one. She's got 2 sisters and like a handicapped father, and she's always out having to hunt and provide food while her sisters do nothing to help out. And she ends up killing this huge wolf. She kind of knew something was up, because why is this wolf that big? But she killed him, and she ended up using special arrows that she had that supposedly could kill fae. So she went for it, and she killed this wolf, and it ended up being a fae. And so Tamlin comes to collect her and take her over to the fae world, past their border, and she has to live with him and all of that. He is a shifter, and there's a lot of dark things happening in the world that could be spreading. We have a big bad, and you know, a lot of stuff going on. This is not my favorite by No, it's a good book. It's a solid book, but I don't love Tamlin as much as I love Rhysand, obviously. But this is a really good first book. He does shift and become a wolf. So just want to briefly mention that as an option for you. Another one I want to mention, it's I haven't read the whole series, but it was available on Audible Plus, so I thought this would be a good option for you if you want to listen to some really quick audiobooks, because they're pretty short. The first one is The Pack by Kristen Coley, and this is very YA though. The covers do not look YA. There's like no steam. Nothing going on in these books, but I just want to warn you. So if you're looking for something you can listen to a quick audiobook on, and YA, very low, like low to no steam, this is a good option for you if you don't want something spicy. So in this, and this is also very Twilight-y to me, but in this we have Jess Carter. And she moves to town, and this is a small town in Idaho, to go live with her father for her senior year in high school. You get what I'm saying here. I mean, there's no vampires in this, but, and she ends up kind of having some run-ins with some of these kind of creepy guys, that end up kind of scenting her. There's something about her scent, and they become obsessed with her. And so she ends up having to get protection by this pack of wolves, and one of them is the coach, like, of the school. Like, he's not much older, only a couple years older, so it's not like age gappy or anything like that, but they end up having like this amazing connection together, and she finds out about these wolves and everything, and then they're trying to protect her. And so, you know, the first one leaves off on a cliffhanger, and like it continues. So I just wanted to give that as an alternate option and let you know. I don't know if it's still there, but it was on Audible Plus, so you can definitely listen to those. Now I'm going to bring up another one that was from Suzanne Wright. This is the Shards of Frost, and this is actually the 5th book, the final book in the Mercury pack. So I know I'm bringing up the last book in a series, but you could definitely read it on its own, and I really loved it. And this was also available on Audible Plus recently, so I wanted to give this as an option. But I love this because, you know, we do have our typical wolf shifters, but in this series, they end up mating to different types of shifters too. So in this one, it is between Eli and Casey, and she is actually a mink shifter, and I really loved her character. The minks are super like feisty and dangerous and lethal, and so they all get kind of nervous with minks, but she actually is a badass. I loved her character. She like does fighting too, like where they they shift and they fight. But she's been forced to kind of do these fights to pay off her brother's debt to this like sketchy drug dealer shifter alpha, and he wants her to throw a fight, which she refuses to do, and so she starts getting attacked, and Eli kind of steps in to help her, even though she didn't really need much help because she's that badass. But he instantly recognizes her as his mate, and he kind of thought he would never really have a mate, and he kind of just settled with that. And so this is very low angst because like they instantly recognize each other as mates, and they don't want to fight it. And so it's just him trying to protect her and him bringing her into his pack and all of that kind of stuff. And it was just really beautiful. It's a good end to that series. So obviously it's better if you've read the other books, but I really loved it. And it was a really sweet, low angst, good time. Okay, so to kind of finally transition from my wolves, which is mostly what I read, I have Twilight of Embers by Tessa Hale. I was lucky to get the ALC for the first book, but I didn't get them for the other two. This is a trilogy. It is a White Shoes Dragon Shifter romance. And the audiobooks, I want to get the other ones too because the audiobook was amazing. It's a full cast of characters because it is White Shoes. There's multiple guys. And they had great narrators for it. But in this, you have Hayden, and she was orphaned at a young age. And so she doesn't even know that she's a dragon shifter. And there's something special about her. I think they also have a hard time mating and certain people to mate with as these dragon shifters, if I'm remembering correctly. But she ends up going to this college, and she runs into Knox. He's like this very cute, sweet football player of the school, and he instantly recognizes her as his mate. And so he goes to tell his other dragon shifter buddies, like their kind of group, because she would be she's supposed to kind of be the mate for all of them. So they kind of are trying to introduce her to them, but like not give away what they are fully, but obviously things are going to happen. But there was such a good job of like giving a good introduction to each of these guys. So you have like Knox, he's the cute football player. We have Easton, which is his twin. Hale, who's like the damaged hero, very touch her and die vibes. And then like Killian, and he was a nightclub billionaire type of guy that was super alpha, and I loved him. So I am planning on reading the rest of that for the readathon for sure, because that's also White Shoes. So I mean, I don't think you don't get points for doing shifter and White Shoes, but it could hit the extra points for you regardless. And then the last one I want to mention is Veronica's Dragon by Ruby Dixon. This is the second book in the Ice Home series, which is connected to the Ice Planet Barbarians. And I freaking love this book. It just made me smile. Ice Planet Barbarians are already like my guilty pleasure. Not really guilty because I don't care. feel guilty about it, but I love Ice Planet Barbarians. So this is kind of like an offshoot from that. And we have Ashtar, and he is a group of people that were like, they were taken as slaves by aliens, crash landed in Ice Planet Barbarians, and those people were killed, and so the slavers were, and now they're letting them out. So he was actually, he's a Draconi, and so he is a dragon shifter gladiator. He was a gladiator, and he's like very amazing, like alpha, like, you know, cool character that I just loved. And he instantly sees Veronica, and he like, that's my mate, I want her. Even before they get the Kuian, which makes them resonate, he knew she was his, which kind of makes her nervous. Then they get the Kuian, and they resonate to each other, but he gets frustrated because people are trying to tell him, you have to let her choose, you can't just take her off and mate with her and make her yours. But he very much wants to be with her immediately, and he's very alpha but sweet, and just kind of like a different culture than them. And she kind of learns that she has healing abilities. She's able to be a healer, but it takes a lot out of her. And so she'll get very weak, and he gets very possessive and protective over her. So I just loved it. It was feel good. I love the dragon shifter. He's really badass with, like, you know, being a dragon when he shifts into a dragon. So absolutely loved that one. So those are all the shifter romances that I have for this video. Let me know if you have any more that you would recommend. I hope you guys are going to be joining us for the readathon next month, and I hope you join the Ballet Dancers because it's going to be fun. We get competitive, and I really want to get some really good recs out to you guys so you can have some good shifter and why choose options. But as always, thank you so much for watching my video. Don't forget to subscribe, leave me a comment down below, and I will see you guys on the next one.